to order then, if we can. Is anybody?
Did we lose the other Bruce?
Oh, he can't hear. Oh, Bruce Daniels, he was here. Where is?
Dr. Daniels dropped off. He was here,
He
but
did.
I do see we can hear and see a quorum, so I can do roll call if you want, President Christensen.
Okay, because all we have to do is at least get this started. Let's do the call to order and the roll call. He'll probably come back.
Okay. So Director Daniels is currently absent. Vice President Jaffe is here. Director LeHue.
I am here.
Director Lather.
I'm here.
And President Christensen.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we'll move on to item 0.1, which is to approve resolution 23.3-04, permitting a remote meeting under AB 361 due to the declaration of emergency related to the ongoing storm events. Well, how appropriate. So this is for Josh Nelson Vieser. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, President Christensen. Yeah, no, I think we've been spending months talking about how we're not going to have AB 361 meetings going forward. We weren't supposed to have this meeting virtually, but in light of the declaration of emergency related to the ongoing storm events, I think as evidenced by some of the discussion we had before the meeting started, we do have the ability to use AB 361 to have this meeting completely remotely. To do so, we just need to adopt the resolution, which is in the packet, resolution 23-04, and hope everyone's staying safe.
Okay, thank you. Public comment?
I do not see any raised hands.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. In that case, we'll, any of our board members have a comment on this?
Yeah. Nope.
Nope.
I move approval.
Okay.
Or I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, roll call.
Director Daniels is absent. Vice President Jaffe.
Yes.
Director LeHue.
Yes.
Director Lather.
Yes.
And President Christensen.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I think it was very timely that we have this meeting this way. Otherwise, we might not have had it. We're moving on to item 1, which is closed session. And we will be adjourning to have the closed session, but we are now looking for comments on the closed session. Any raised hands?
Yes, we see one raised hand.
Okay, Becky Steinbrenner, okay.
Ms. Steinbrenner, your mic's available.
Hello, this is Becky Steinbrenner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm also without power here in our canyon, so I have complete sympathy for those of you like Dr. LeHue that's coming in on phone only. I want to have I just have to be honest and let you know that in preparing some of the administrative record documents for for the case 21CV0157-1517, I've felt it was necessary to file some Public Records Act requests with the California Coastal Commission, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And it took a while, but I got some documents, some responsive materials back that have been so enlightening to me and really have been shocking to see that there were actions that the district took, and there was correspondence with these agencies to the district staff that effectively addressed many of the issues that I have brought before you, before the court
30
in
seconds.
the lawsuits. And I don't understand why these materials were not included in the responsive materials for Public Records Act that I filed with the district. I'm reviewing these documents now. It is very likely that further action for the appeal before the Coastal Commission First Appellate District will not be necessary, but I'm shocked that the district would not provide a full course of information for me that would in
Thank you,
effect
Ms. Steinbrenner. Your
make
time
these
is up.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment. We are now moving into closed session. Do we have everybody here? Yeah.
And you're gonna report out?
And the report out is there have been no reportable actions discussed in the closed session. Okay. So it's 6:50 and we're on item 2, public hearing. The public hearing, which is a variance request for the subdivision agreement term extension for Aptos Village.
And I'll be presenting this to the board tonight.
Okay.
So I wanted to go back. There is a timeline in the board memo at the bottom of the first page that might be helpful. As I think the community is aware, and of course the board's aware, the Aptos Village project has been a long project. It actually started before 2009, obviously working with staff and I think the county planning department and everything. I think our records go back to 2005 in the engineering department and probably in conservation as well. But in 2009, the board issued a conditional will serve letter, and then another conditional will serve letter was issued in 2013 due to the effort to get approval through the county. And then in 2014, in February 18th, 2014 is really where significant action was taken by our board, by the district's board. And that includes some language modifications to the traditional subdivision agreement, a request instead of paying up front to submit a bond for water capacity fees. And in the modifications to the subdivision agreement included freezing the water capacity fees at the 2014 rates. And then also a sub-metering agreement and also some language in the unconditional will serve letter. And initially that kind of sat for several months. And in December of 2015, an executed subdivision agreement was executed. A subdivision agreement was executed, and that's attached for your reference. At that time, it was for, I believe, a 5-year term, and there was a option to extend it for 2 years, but it'd have to get approved by the board. And so those 7 years have come and went, and unfortunately, we didn't receive a request to extend the agreement again until after the current subdivision agreement expired. And so now we're returning to the board. The developer who is on the line is requesting to grant that second extended 2-year. But we wanted to let the board look at how other developments are handled, and this does fall within a variance request. Specifically, most of our subdivisions and developer projects have to pay water capacity fees at the time the meters are dropped. Several years go by, obviously, and if they typically pay up front the fees that are in place at the time the subdivision agreement is in place. Now, that didn't happen because the developer requested to bond that fee. However, normally all those fees are paid up front. And what would happen is if a development went through the process and it didn't get done in time for the next increase in fees, they would be paying the difference in the fees. And those basically go up every year, every January. And so there is an attachment in the board packet, and it's the attachment 3, and it's called the meter survey. And it also compares the water capacity fee, the difference in water capacity fees, and that's the significant portion. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Now, what you're looking at is only addressing phase 2. Phase 1 of the development was already completed. Meters have been dropped. When I say completed, I mean construction was completed, but the entire project has not been accepted by the board. So technically speaking, this project is still under construction. However, half of it, due to railroad impacts and things like that, is finished. And so what you're looking at is really impacts associated with phase 2, I think is what it is called, Aptos Village phase 2. And there's several buildings in phase 2 that are called out in the memo. And those several buildings and meters are documented here. There's 3 fire services, 2 irrigation services, 12 commercial meters, 29 residential and 1 commercial, all remaining to be installed for phase 2. The middle column is the rates that would be in place if the board were to, I think, carry out a motion number 3, which would be allowing the water capacity fees to remain as they were back in 2015. And the final column to the right is the current rates as they are today. And there's about $502,000, 776 difference between those two. One other thing, are there any questions related to the water capacity fee situation? Yes. Okay, why don't we start with those, and then I can dive into the meter drop explanation as well.
Okay, my biggest question is, so if unknown person came to us with this project, maybe it's not phase 2, but say it was a new project with the exact same number of units and meters and all that, what would they have to pay?
They would have to pay the column to the right, the 2023 rates.
Okay, thank you.
And then what would happen is if they didn't finish the project before January 2024, there would probably be a delta additional fee due each year after, because the subdivision agreement is valid typically for 2 years. And in the amount of time that happens to execute and complete, the rates can go up. And there is an exhibit that is, and a section in the subdivision agreement that calls for that increase.
Okay.
One thing that's unique about this project is the sub-metering. As you know, we don't typically do sub-metering. It was a request by the developer to sub-meter to minimize the number of backflow devices at behind the sidewalk. And that was approved, and it was executed for phase 1, and several sub-meters are installed. the benefit of those is that we can actually bill the customers. We read them and we bill the customers even though we don't maintain the meters. We have a master meter feeding multiple sub meters. In calculating the fees back in 2015, we, as you see, we failed at the bottom row there, sub meter labor only. We did not charge, well, in fact, we charged a fee for the meter and the labor. And what we needed to do was not necessarily charge for the physical meter, because that is something that the developer provides. It's a meter that is the same meter that we use, but they would purchase it and provide it. But the labor only aspect is what we're trying to discuss tonight, where our staff has to visit the site, get the serial number and activate the meter, turn it on, and get it an account set up. And so it's traditionally $370 when we drop in a meter, and that includes the cost of the meter. And because the developer's providing the meter, it's down to $90 per meter, per sub meter. I'm sorry. And so we would like the board to discuss and give direction to account for that staff time for the sub meter labor that's involved there. And one thing at the bottom line of that table that you're looking at in green is a little misleading, because there is a row that doesn't have numbers in it, and I want you to know that that row is for the two 3-inch meters that are, you know, approximately $3,100 a piece. So that's an estimate, and I think we can give the board an idea that the at cost meter drop increase would be in the ballpark of $6,200 total when all is said and done. The difference between the 6,100 and the roughly 12 to 13,000 that it would be today. Is that clear for you guys? I'm sorry, it's a little unclear in the table, but we didn't have the meter costs at the time for the 3-inch. I don't necessarily want to talk about motions yet, because I think we should receive public comment and then have a discussion. There are several different options on how to consider this.
Yeah, that's good. Taj, do you think it's worth at least, and Director Christensen or President Christensen, focusing about, on a variance request, what, that paragraph right there?
Yes, we can do that.
Before we open it up, the next step
Yeah.
would be to open it up to
That's good.
comment.
For the board to approve a variance, our resolution 74-55 requires us to make some findings, and there are 3 findings there, A, B, and C. And I can read those for you. Findings A is granting the variance is required by special circumstances applicable to the property, and as a result of which the strict application of district resolutions and ordinances would cause the property to be deprived of privileges enjoyed by other similar properties in the district. Finding B, granting the variance would be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the ordinances, resolutions, and policies of the district, but would not be materially detrimental to public health, safety, or general welfare. This 1C is probably the one that most applies to this to think about, is granting of the variance would not constitute a grant of special privilege inconsistent with those placed upon other parcels where payment in full is required prior to executing subdivision agreement, including payment of water capacity fees in effect at the time of the service is activated. I did add the last few words to that sentence to make it applicable to what you're considering tonight, but it is trying to address the question that was asked earlier is if, do other developers or parcels, would they be required to pay the current capacity fees at the time the service is activated? Any questions about the variance process? I think maybe Josh could help us if there's any specific questions beyond what I just read for you.
So you're saying that paying the water capacity currently in effect is required of all the other developers?
That's true.
Okay,
I would
And
like to
so-
move, we open the public hearing.
yes, it's
I second
thank you.
the
Is that my
Bruce's
motion?
That was me.
Okay,
and the other, and Bruce Jaffe.
okay, do we have a roll call for that, I think?
Director Daniels,
Yes.
Vice President Jaffe,
Yes,
Director LaHue. Director LaHue is absent at the moment. Director Lather
Yes.
Yes.
and President Christensen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Director LaHue said yes.
Oh, thank you.
so we have, I see one hand raised. I don't see anybody else right now.
That's the same as I see right now. I will note, President Christensen, we have Jesse from Barry Swenson online. It looks like he raised his hand, but there was another person in front of him.
just a procedural. When Rochelle, when you said Director he said yes, did he say it or?
Yeah, he said it twice.
Heard it, I heard it.
I can say
Okay.
it again. Can you hear me again?
Now I can hear you.
It's
Yes,
just the signal's going in and out. Sorry.
okay,
It just
okay.
I
seemed
barely
like
got
nobody-
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Thank-
heard it. I
thank you.
heard it though, so it's fine. Okay, Becky.
Hey, Ms. Steinbrenner, your mic is available.
Hello, this is Becky Steinbrunner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm unclear as to what the board just voted on, so I'll go ahead with my comment, but if you can please clarify what exactly it was that you voted on, that would be helpful. I do not think you can make the third finding that granting this extended privilege to Barry Swenson for the Aptos Village project is not a special privilege. Of course it is. And in fact, the developer at Rio Del Mar shopping center came and asked you for the same privilege. So yes, it is a privilege, and I don't think it should be extended. You've already allowed them to get meters and things in for phase one and not pay up front as other developers would. This is a huge privilege that the district is extending. And the prices locked into the 2014 is yet another huge favor that I do not think should be extended. On top of all that is the fact that the water demand offset rate that the Aptos Village project is being assessed is much below what developers now have to pay. I think it was $18,000, $16,000 per acre foot
30 seconds.
that Swenson got to lock in on, and now then it was quickly raised to $55,000 per acre foot. This is not fair. You're extending undue and unfair privileges to Swenson for Aptos Village project. Do not approve this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And just to answer Becky's question, the vote was only a vote on opening a public hearing.
And if there are no other public comments, then we will,
President Christensen, we do have another hand raised.
we
I'm sorry.
do. Where is
Yes.
it? Okay,
Jesse, your mic is available?
okay,
Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
yes.
Hi, my name is Jesse Bristow with Swenson Builders. As the applicant, I'm not sure if I get more than 2 minutes, but thank you for your time this evening. I will highlight that we from the original extension that expired in December 2022, excuse me. I'm not, it's our responsibility to track when something expires. But we did have the benefit of working with Michael Wilson, and usually he would notify us, give us a heads up. And unfortunately, we missed that timeline to ask for that second 2-year extension. So that's one point I would like to make, that this is kind of different than other potential projects. Secondly, we're currently in financing, getting financing lined up with the bank, which in that budget, we take into consideration our costs for the water district. So to take on pretty much a 50 or doubling our costs would be pretty detrimental to our loan. So that's a challenge to us. And so really it would be helpful to see if we could exercise that extension that was baked into the previous timeline. I understand that has expired, but we are trying to move the project forward. Taj did bring up, thank you. Taj did bring up the meter drops in the cost difference. Perhaps there's some way we could accommodate that cost. We would certainly be open to that. So I'll be here for any questions, and thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much for the information. I think we are ready to close the public hearing at this point.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second,
Second, okay, roll call.
Director Daniels,
yes.
Vice President Jaffe,
Yes.
Director LaHue,
Yes.
Director Lather,
Yes.
and President Christensen.
Yes. Okay, we're going to move into board discussion now, starting with Bruce Daniels.
Well, I don't think there's any choice here. I mean, they didn't file the extension on time, so we can't extend something that's already terminated. First of all, and from the very beginning, we've been acting as the bank for this facility. We've given them all kinds of special deals and special things. All of those violated the terms here, and they're asking for some more special terms to make it less expensive for them. And it is not our place as a water district to go out and finance development. We just supply water at cost, and so I don't think we can continue to do that. We shouldn't continue to do that. That is our responsibility to follow our protocols, and we haven't been doing it, and we should start now. So I think we should just not do that. We should make them do the same thing that every other developer has always done, and which is to follow the rules.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Jaffe?
I agree with Dr. Daniels. It's pretty clear-cut case to me of if we were to grant a variance, it would be a special privilege. And so I don't think we can do that.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay. Director LaHue?
Yeah, as I kind of asked that question about whether anybody else coming in, what they would have to pay, I just think to be fair with everyone, we have to treat them like we would anybody else. And I do agree that it would violate the, part C of our resolution that says that, we can't give special privileges basically. So I think we have to roll with whatever anybody else would have to pay.
Okay, Director Lather?
Yeah, I was pretty confused about this one item. I guess I don't even see how we find findings A and B. I'm trying to figure that out. And we're all focused on C. So maybe somewhere it says why the finding of A and B is not a problem. So yeah, I'm kind of at a loss to do anything but start with today and what's required. I read this a couple of times and I was not sure why we were even considering it.
What was brought before us. And so I'll just carry on after you. And I agree. I spent a lot of time parsing this and making sure that I understood that it would be fair. But I did fix on finding C that granting a variance in this situation would constitute a special privilege that we are not giving have not given other developments. And we've really worked with them, as the timeline shows, for a long time. And I think it's now, with the expiration of that one, our past agreement, our past variance, we are a clean slate, and we have to move forward from that. And so the question I have is whether we can break up these or whether we need to. Motion 3 pertains to the issuance of a variance. And I wonder if we can split this up and continue to discuss if we want to carry on with any of the other motions. But I think we have enough information and input to decide on motion 3.
I'd like to make a motion that we deny the variance request. Motion 3.
I second.
Okay,
Director
can we have a
Daniels.
roll call on that?
Director Daniels,
Yes.
Vice President Jaffe,
Yes.
Director LaHue,
Yes.
Director Lather,
Yes.
and President Christensen.
Yes.
I'd like
But pardon me?
I wanted to provide clarification for what the difference between 4 and 5 was, if that's okay.
Thank you. Okay,
And
this is the time to do it.
yeah, I want to make sure you guys understand the difference. 5 would be kind of what someone walking in the door today would be required to comply with. 4 is a little unique. It basically says that we would collect the current 2023 capacity fees, but going forward for how many years, if it was, another 2 or 4 years, there wouldn't be paying any increase each year. So that's the difference between 4 and 5 is 4 would be just paying the water capacity fees at the current year rate, but 5 would be requiring everything each year. If there's an increase, they would be subject to that anytime before the meter gets dropped. So it sounded like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think it sounded like the board would be trying to steer towards a new agreement with the current terms that we would impose on someone walking in the door today.
That's correct for me, Taj, but I guess what's a bit confusing is that we've already denied the variance request for the second extension. And so the first part of this motion, say 5, is by motion granted denied the execution of a new subdivision agreement for Aptos Village Phase 2. So by granting the execution of a new subdivision agreement, how is that different than just somebody coming in to walking in today and wanting to have a subdivision agreement, or is it the same?
It is the same. No, that
Okay.
would be motion 5. I guess, that we would then have to request that the bond would be terminated, and then they would pay the water capacity fees up front, which is what we require all developers to do prior to being. So I guess we really shouldn't consider this. I mean, you wouldn't be executing a new subdivision agreement until they pay. You could do it conditioned upon the water capacity fees being paid, so then it doesn't have to come back to the board. That
Okay.
might be nice.
Okay.
I have a question. Have they applied for a new subdivision agreement? How can we approve it if they haven't applied for it? I thought they just applied for the extension.
Well, I guess the letter might serve as an application, not a traditional. We don't really have an application fee or an application for a subdivision agreement. It's more the will serve letter, which they already have. So I'd like, if you could consider their letter as a request for an application to be served. That would be helpful for us to keep this in motion.
Well, do we even have to address that? Can't we just say that we want to basically execute a new subdivision agreement similar to any other, period?
And they would have to sign it, and that would show their intent to apply, is if they would sign that agreement and bring in the fees, of course.
Right.
So if we approved motion 5, we would be automatically endorsing a 2-year period with a 2-year extension, and the phase 2 fees would be paid up front. And so what would be the reason for having another 2
Then
years?
it would lock in the current
No,
prices, right?
no, it would not. No, it would not. It would acknowledge that this project is not likely to be finished in 2 years, although
Okay.
Jesse might have a different opinion on that, but it's acknowledging that it may take possibly 4 years to complete phase 2. They would be part of the new subdivision terms are that each new service would be required to record an exhibit B that requires current fees be paid at the time of the meter drop. So even though it's a 2 or maybe 2 or 3 or 4 year agreement, it does not mean that fees are frozen at all. It means they're frozen for the next 7 months or 8 months. Come January, there will be a delta that would be required to be paid. And then if it's not done by 2025, there'd be another delta, assuming that the fees go up each year, and then again in the next year.
So to be clear, the only thing that's really giving them is just not having to make or come in for another subdivision agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And is that
Okay.
standard, Taj? That these extensions are part of a subdivision agreement? And what's the advantage of having it be part of a subdivision agreement other than, I mean, what's different than 2 years from now that they come back if they haven't built and apply for a new subdivision agreement at that point? Another.
One less administrative thing to do. It's acknowledging that the size and magnitude of the project is not likely to be finished in a traditional subdivision term. So,
And is that something that we do with others? I'm just, fairness is my issue.
I don't think the only thing is an administrative thing. They're not getting granted any real special privilege that I can think of, other than just the steps of going through this approval.
But have we done that with other people?
I don't believe so. I think the board has seen, subdivisions get renewed but not extended, not automatically extended. So if that's something you want to modify, we can scratch the extension and you can approve a 2-year
I think we should just do it how we do everybody else.
Director Daniels has a comment, I
I
believe.
agree.
Oh, I would like to make a motion that we ask staff to work with the developer and see if the developer even wants to submit a new subdivision agreement. And if so, work with them to make that happen. And it would be just like any other customer then. Yeah, 2 year.
Yeah,
And she-
because number 5, I was gonna recommend 5, but we haven't seen the new subdivision agreement for Aptos.
That's right.
So
Well-
we can't, I don't feel like we see how we can do that.
Well, we can, like I said, very simply, we can just move to basically execute a new subdivision agreement, just like with anyone else.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
mean,
And
in
the
there,
typical 2-year term.
it says phase 2 fees will pay in front and a new agreement will come before the board. So we're,
Yeah, that's true. I guess that last statement there, you know, if you guys are able to, Josh, help us, if they're able to approve a direct staff to execute a new agreement, or if we have to bring it back to the board, that's a question for you. I think the agreement would be the template that we have, the district's template. It would not have any wording striked out or any new wording that would be added in that was done back in 2014. Okay, so that's why I guess I figured the board might be comfortable directing staff to execute the standard subdivision agreement that has been before you several times since the 2014 one.
Won't that be the same thing as take no action? Where you would just tell them that if they want to come and do a new agreement, they can.
Well, no, I think it still needs approval from the board.
Yeah, I think the difference, Tosh, can I jump in? Yeah, I think the difference, Director Daniels, would just be that if the board were to approve that motion this evening, then the agreement wouldn't have to come back to the board in the future. And so, to answer that question, yes, I think the board could make that motion tonight if you wanted to, but you also could, along the lines of your motion, direct us to work with the developer to bring this back for a future meeting where you could take action on the development agreement at that point, which presumably would be the template form based on the board's discussion this evening. President Christensen, to that point, we do have a motion, so we may want to see if there's a second on that.
On 5,
No.
No, it was Bruce.
Director Daniels' motion, which was to work with staff to see if the developer wishes to submit an application and treat it like any other customer if they do.
is that different than telling them that we want them to come in and do it?
yeah, I'm kind of uncomfortable with that myself, just because we already have a series of extension, of agreements, and I don't know why we can't just decide get a visual on the agreement once it's done and comes before the board. And
But is that the same thing that Dr. Daniels had said? I'm a
well,
little confused.
it's whether
Sorry.
we're going to.
We
Okay,
can't
this is
discuss it.
how-
We can't discuss it. Parliamentary procedure says either
We
there's
need
a
a
second or no
second.
second.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do need to see if there's a second, and if there's a second, then we can ask the clarifying questions and
Right,
then
we
move
can
forward. If
discuss
there
it
isn't a
similar to
second, then the
the other
motion will die, and then we can move on to an alternate motion.
Maybe it should die and we get a clearer motion.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I would prefer.
Or no motion at all. I don't think there needs to be a motion.
Well, we can make a motion to direct staff to develop an agreement and bring it back to the board.
And so,
Yeah.
President Christensen, sorry to interrupt. I do think it sounds like there isn't a second to the motion, so that motion would fail, and then it'd be back to the board for alternate motion or direction.
And I was going to move approval of motion 5. Motion 5, because we have seen previous agreements from them, and we know what they will do, and we can either say yes or no on the 2-year extension, or we could just incorporate that and decide that, but our fees would be the same, but our,
Are you making a motion or are you discussing?
yeah, I'm just discussing why I was going motion 5. I was pushing for a motion 5. You don't have to second that one
You're
either.
making it.
Yes, okay, I approve, I motion to approve item 5, or,
And that motion includes returning to the board
correct.
with great, okay, with a new agreement for you to.
And Carla, it includes a 2-year extension.
It does.
That's what it says.
She is
I would
doing.
just say an option. It's just as an option for 2 years. It's not
She's
a
made
done
that
deal.
motion.
Yes, it's in number 5.
So it's time to call for a second, if any.
Correct. Okay. The motion
Yeah,
5,
make a motion?
I motion 5 fails. Okay, so that's fine with me. Okay.
Okay, somebody else?
I'll try a motion that says to direct staff to work with the developer to develop I'll just say direct staff to bring back a new subdivision agreement at a future meeting.
I'll second, and I ask, I'm not sure I'm gonna vote for it, but Taj talked about a standard subdivision agreement in one of his explanations. Would you accept that friendly
Sure.
change?
I mean, I want it to be just like what we would do for anybody else.
Huh.
Yeah, what I would like to, thank you, Director Jaffe, for that option. It does give us the option to streamline, not grant any special privileges, but certainly streamline staff's effort here. With
That's
that,
fine.
yeah, with that, I mean, I wonder if you could clarify whether what we do, a standard subdivision agreement would be a 2-year term, and there would be no option for an extension. And it would be conditioned upon, we would not bring it to the president to sign or the council to countersign until the fees are paid up front. But you would be theoretically approving the subdivision agreement, and it would not have to return to the board. And it would not be signed or executed by the board president until the conditions for payment of fees are done.
Okay.
So standard, there's no surprises in that. Because if there's something that deviates, I would like to see it again. But if by standard, it's, yeah.
It's district council approved. BBK has provided input and review over the several years, and there would be no strikeouts. There would be no additions from the developer. It would be all district wording.
And the advantage to you, Taj, is that it doesn't have to go in front of the board again.
That's correct.
Director Christensen, may I chime in? Taj, are we sure we're comfortable with that in light of the meters being sub-metered? Does that still work in the standard agreement?
No.
Exhibit A will define the fees due, and if you approve number 6, then we would add the fees that you've approved tonight to cover the labor for those meter drops for the sub-meters. So yes, it would not be a problem for us to draft up the Exhibit A for the subdivision agreement. It would also, I want to clarify that there is an Exhibit B to that subdivision agreement, and that is the specific exhibit requires, among other wording in the agreement, that the current fees be paid at the time of meter drop. The sub-metering agreement, I think the board still has to honor. That's a separate agreement that does not appear to have an expiration. And the entire design of the project and infrastructure of the project is based on that.
So essentially by voting for the motion that Tom made with the amendment or the change to instead of new, a standard subdivision agreement. The difference between that and taking no action is that it cuts one step out, which would be the step of the board having to approve it. Correct?
That's correct.
I'm confused. Standard people, don't subdivision agreements have to come to the board?
Yes.
Okay, so you were talking about bypassing that, so we will never see it again?
No, that's what you would do tonight.
Okay, so it will come back to the board to get approved.
No, that wasn't the motion. That wasn't the approval. It can, if that's what you wish, but we're asking the board to approve our standard subdivision agreement with all district terms be executed with the developer, conditioned upon them paying the fees up front, including meter drop labor fees, and it would not return. So this motion and Director LaHue's motion did not include returning to the board. That's
Okay. Now I know what my vote is.
Well, so I
Yeah.
don't quite understand. I didn't know, I'm not sure that that was clear, because what I was what I was saying was that we direct staff to develop the new agreement, but that it would come back to us.
and that's what we can do. Let's restate that motion then. If
Yeah.
that,
So I said to direct staff to develop a subdivision agreement and bring it could, and I can say the standard subdivision agreement, that's fine, and bring it back to the board for approval.
okay.
I will accept that as the second.
Okay.
And I think I'm gonna add that, again, that's what everybody does. So I think that's the fair thing to do. And Jesse, I'm sure he can tell from this conversation that that the board is very likely to approve that. And it's just keeping things so there's no special privileges granted to any particular application.
Okay, was there a motion and a second on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
President Christensen, are you okay if I move forward with the roll call?
Yes, I guess so.
Director Daniels,
Finally, yes.
Vice President Jaffe,
Yes.
Director LaHue,
Yes.
Director Lather,
Yes.
and President Christensen.
Yes.
And I'd like to make motion 6 with the update to existing subdivision agreements. So I don't know whether that's granting or denying, but again, in no special privileges, that it would have to be the current rate structure.
And Tosh, do you need a motion on 6 based on the direction on 5?
Maybe, well, it's a little different because of the
Yeah, the sub meter. We don't really have a fee for the sub meter drop. So it is proving the $90 fee for per meter to cover that. Labor only without a meter.
Yeah, it wouldn't really be actually what it says on 6, but Bruce, you could word it so that it just,
Yeah, so I'll make the motion. So for the developer to pay a labor only meter drop fee for all sub meters following the current rate schedule.
Thank you.
And I
Second,
will second that.
I think I have
Roll
Tom as
call.
the second.
Yeah, roll call.
Director Daniels,
Yes,
Vice President Jaffe,
Yes,
Director LaHue,
yes,
Director Lather,
Yes,
and President Christensen.
Yes.
Thank you.
thank you, Taj.
yeah, thanks, Tosh. Yep, well done.
Right. We're moving on to the consent agenda. Do any directors wish to pull any of the items on the agenda? Anybody? Okay. Or you
No.
just, okay. Do any of the
I-
members of the
I
public?
have to abstain from February 20, what was it, 7, I think? 21st.
Oh,
First. And I think Jaffe, was it, has to do that same thing.
recuse, I guess.
Yep.
Recuse.
Abstain.
from that one item.
That
Yeah.
one item, that part,
Which
that,
we,
yeah. 4-1.
which we can do. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can do that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, do we have any members of the public who we should comment on this at the moment? No.
Does not look like it, President.
Okay. All right, can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second, I'll second.
Director Daniels,
Yes,
Vice President Jaffe,
Yes, with abstain 4.1.2.
thank you. Director LaHue,
Yes,
Director Lather. Director Lather, your mic,
somehow I got muted. Yes,
and President Christensen.
Yes. Okay.
going along.
Yes, oral and written communications. And again, let's move to the, we have one member of the public who would like to comment. Make a report. And that is Ms. Steinbrenner.
Emma, I don't have the controls to unmute for some reason.
Okay, one second. I'll unmute Ms. Steinberg. Ms. Steinbrenner, your mic is available.
Thank you. This is Becky Steinbrenner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for the action you just took. I really applaud you being fair all around to everyone. Thank you. I want to comment that I did in the recent Central Fire District Board agenda packet see that there had been a fire at the O'Neill Ranch well. And although it's still under investigation, I would like to urge the district to be diligent about clearing fire defensible space around all of your wells, all of your facilities. I'm glad no damage was done in that fire. And thank you for giving the thank you letter to Central Fire. On March 10th, Governor Newsom declared Executive Order N-4-23, formalizing and streamlining groundwater use of stormwater for groundwater recharge projects. I hope that your district will look into that. Although most of the money will be going to the Central Valley, I ask that you pursue some use of the funding for the Seascape Golf Course project, recharge project that you had and have done all the studies for. Maybe it wasn't going to be a lot of recharge, but it's something. And cumulatively, if everyone does small projects, it makes a big difference. I also want to just register my disappointment that there has been no water transfers between the city of Santa Cruz and Soquel Creek Water District. I do understand in some correspondence with Rosemary Menard that there were some damaged pipelines for the North Coast streams, but I believe those have been repaired, and hope that the district will investigate and move forward with doing some water transfers, even though you're very busy with the Pure Water Soquel project. Going back a little bit to that executive order
30 seconds.
N-4, thank you, -23. This Thursday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. there will be a state water department webinar on that, and I'm hoping to join, and I hope some of you will as well, and try to get some of that money for stormwater recharge in our area. Thank you very much.
Director Christensen, may I
Thank
make a
you.
comment?
Yeah.
I just want to know, we have had transfers. The city, we have transferred water to the city over several days to help them with their emergency. So wanted that noted. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any directors wish to have any oral communication?
Yeah, I wanted to say that my reading of that recharge legislation or whatever it was, condition was that it have to involve agriculture, which would kind of leave us out of the picture because we don't really have any of that in our area. So if
Good
that's
point.
true, then that doesn't work for us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Anyone else? Well, I just wanted to, a New York Times article alerted me to a study that was being done by, it was under NASA, I think. It was a satellite. It's a new way of assessing groundwater. And, you know, and it was the prompt to do that research on that was, you know, the global, you know, climate change and global warming and the, you know, the whiplash between drought and wetness and pluvial, they call it pluvial, that we are experiencing here in our own district. So anyway, it's another way of looking at the using a satellite to use gravity to measure the change in groundwater aquifers. Anyway, there's a lot of data in the original paper. It was published by Nature Water. And I have a copy of that paper to make available, but I think it'd be pretty interesting to go into the raw data on that, because our area was one of the areas that they studied, you know, because of our extreme drought. And then of course, this year, is terrible rain. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that, but I'll give the paper to you, Emma. Okay, where are we? So moving on to reports. Yeah. Reports 6.1, we have an oral report with District Council.
Thanks, President Christensen. Yeah, just really briefly, you know, the AB 361 rules that we're meeting under will remain in effect as long as the declaration of emergency for the storm conditions remains in effect. And so we will continue to monitor that. And may have a little bit more flexibility to continue remote meetings depending on how long that lasts. More information to come. Thank you.
Thank you. 7, administrative business, conditional and unconditional will serve letters. We have one project up for consideration. It's 7.1.1 conditional will serve for a 42-room hotel at 720 Hill Street in Capitola. And Taj Dafour, I think you're going to explain this to us.
Well, I don't know. There are sheets. Attachment 4 has the architectural and landscape plans, which I figured there are other sheets that we've seen, but I think those are the sheets that the board would be interested in seeing. Other than that, I really don't have much to add other than there's really no infrastructure that is required to serve this on the distribution side. There is adequate pressure and a adequately sized water main that fronts it.
I just had one of the quick questions. Do you know how much the expected water demand will be for that project?
Yeah, and I'm not suited to answer that. I think we don't calculate water demand anymore.
No.
Shelley, if you're welcome to pipe in if you wish.
Yeah, this project's kind of been in the mix for quite a while. They came to us over, I think, a year ago. And so we did do a water demand offset calculation because the program was in effect at that time. And with the 1.6 program multiplier, their offset requirement was 7.8 acre feet for the 42 rooms.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, public comment. Let's see. Becky Steinbrenner, would you like to comment on this project?
Ms. Steinbrenner, your mic's available.
Thank you. This is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. You know, it's interesting that at the last City of Santa Cruz Water Commission meeting, they were looking at all of the different uses of water, single family, multifamily. The highest per person use was for hotels. It was very, very high. And I think what would behoove the district is to encourage or incentivize somehow that there be double plumbing. That I think that particular area has very sandy soil, that there be some sort of stormwater recharge project on site. I do believe that the County of Santa Cruz requires all stormwater generated by new impervious surfaces to be kept on site up to, I think, a 2-year storm or something like that, which we're seeing those. That's hardly anything, really. So while I don't want to stand in the way of new commercial business in the area that will serve the tourist industry and perhaps relieve pressure from the vacation rental program, which is very, thank you, very controversial in tearing apart the neighborhoods. I would like to see the district address the issue of high water use of hotels and to somehow encourage, incentivize water saving recharge measures for this development. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. So it's time for board discussion here. Dr. Daniels, do you have any questions or comments on this?
I have a question. I know previously, long ago, like last meeting, we had this Go Green kind of program where we encouraged people, in fact, gave them incentives to do things to, save water. And I'm wondering, just since this plan has been in the works for a year, are they doing any of those Go Green kind of things?
Shelley, that might be best for you to address. And then also what might be pertinent is how a lot of the regulations have caught up with some of our programs.
Correct. The Go Green was an incentive for applicants to reduce their water demand offset requirement by going above and beyond what's required for our indoor fixture ordinance and our landscape ordinance. And like Ron mentioned, both of those have the codes have caught up with the green building requirements and the Go Green program. And so there really isn't
a huge difference between the two now. This new development will have to comply with those strict fixture efficiency requirements for the indoor plumbing, as well as the outdoor landscaping will have to be very efficient and meet our ordinance. So we do in our ordinance
Oops.
encourage people
I'll
to.
get out of your way.
Oops,
Okay.
There's a lot of feedback. We do encourage them to do rainwater collection and gray water systems. But that's an encouragement, not a requirement, and it's not required by the city of Capitola or the county either. There probably are requirements for retaining a percentage of their stormwater or most of the stormwater that falls on the parcel. So there's that, but as far as like active recharge systems, we don't have a mechanism in place to require that of an applicant.
For Taj, isn't it the case that there's already a hotel on this same property? So we're being asked to approve a second hotel at that same location?
Right.
Okay.
You can probably look at the map that I think Taj included and see what that looks like compared to the existing hotel.
Attachment 4. Keep going. Yeah, there you go. In the yellow to the right, top right on the first page, show you where it is. Keep going up. Location. There you go.
Zoom out a little bit.
Top right corner is.
There we go. Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
You know, zoom in actually to that if you wish.
And I'll also mention that President Christensen, you asked about incentives. I do believe that there's always a price signal. So we try to encourage outside our rebate programs and all that it's often in their best interest to go as low as possible because it means a lower water bill.
But then it's an offset against their expense of putting in the offset.
It is.
feature.
It's a business decision.
So many times people decide, I don't want to put in all that extra stuff now. I'll pay the water as it goes on, and that's fine.
2 to 5 year break point generally.
Yes. So that's all the questions I have.
So this is our first at unconditional will serve post end of WDO, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe we had a will serve on the last agenda for affordable housing project in Capitola on Capitola Road.
Okay. So it used to be that we would decrease the WDO offset if certain things were done, correct?
If the applicant wanted to go above and beyond what we already require through our indoor and outdoor ordinances, which are pretty stringent.
Gotcha. Yeah, I wonder if something similar can be done with our capacity fee. Probably not, but I just wonder that. My other thought is that I've been in hotels where there's just signage, like one of the ones I like the best was water is a precious resource, use it wisely. And I wonder whether or not we can either require or encourage the hotels to put up signage and perhaps something more the point is that, you know, that we're in a water emergency. Because people come to the hotels are, you know, I think almost by definition, the vast majority are not from the area and will not know what's going on in terms of water.
Yeah, our water waste ordinance already does require that for hotels, that they have to post that signage. And that's been in place for a number of years. It was a state emergency requirement, but we adopted it as a permanent requirement in our water waste ordinance.
Good. So is in each room or is it more
Yes.
legit?
Each room.
That's great. That's great. So you're already doing what I think should be done. Or we are already doing that. No other comments.
President Christensen, I think you're on mute.
All right. Oh, Dr. Lehue, are you around?
I'm here. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. Do you have any comments on this project?
Nope.
No, okay. Director Lather?
No comment.
You know what, I don't either. I think we should consider the motion.
I thought we were just doing questions. I do have a comment on this. project.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, here we go, getting rid of the WDO and putting in a duplicate hotel. I mean, a second hotel. I don't think that's in our district's best interest to be, you know, just, I mean, it's going back to the old days of just giving out water. You would go up to the desk and get a will serve letter, irregardless of what you wanted to do. And I don't think this is a good use of our water, is just to do these kinds of things. And so I think we should not approve it.
Any other comments on this?
I guess I feel like that's getting a little bit into the land use kind of. I mean, I understand that worry, and I would hope that, you know, the hotel would have the signage and stuff that Bruce Jaffe was mentioning, and have to use the same things that we had on our Go Green program before. But, you know, I guess I feel I understand it, but it's just like, I think it's the county's general plan. Unfortunately, that's, I don't know, we're the arbiter of exactly what goes where.
I don't care about land use. I just care about water use.
Why not? But what would be the alternative use on that property is what I'm saying. You know,
up to them.
I'm kind of queasy on that one too, especially given that we're getting this, we're getting ready to complete this Pure Water Soquel project. I think we're in a different position than we were when we were in the middle of a drought, a severe, prolonged drought with no recourse on water. So I disagree on that there's an immediate emergency that we need to turn down this hotel development. Does anybody else have any other comments on this?
Well, I'd like to comment about that.
Okay.
So we're in the standard situation now. We're gonna, the future is drought, drought, drought.
Yeah.
Flood. Drought, 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 flood. That's what all the climate studies are saying. So some people think, oh, well, we're into, big water, and so we have no problem anymore. But no, we're in the new situation. It'll be, in fact, it'll be terrible years, and then we'll get flooded. And when you get flooded, most of it doesn't soak in. Most of it runs off because it's so crazy rain. And so if you think, we're out of the woods now, no, we're in the woods, and it's going to get worse as climate change continues to get worse. So the years will be drier even more, and the floods will be even more intense. And so don't look upon that as our solution, because it isn't.
I didn't say that actually, but I also don't see an immediate reason not to make a motion 1 to approve the project. And that's what I'm doing. I'm making a motion right now to approve the project.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Can we get a roll call on this?
Director Daniels,
No,
Vice President Jaffe,
Yes.
Director LaHue,
Yes.
Director Lather,
No,
and President Christensen.
Yes. All right. 7.2.
Hi, that's me. I'll be taking this item. So for the last several years, the board has given staff the authority to issue conditional and unconditional will serves for small projects with water demand less than 1 acre-foot. So that would include accessory dwelling units that required a new meter or new service, single family homes, and small commercial projects. So we've been issuing those will serves at the staff level and then reporting on those monthly in the Water Resources Department's management update. Projects with estimated water demand greater than 1 acre-foot have been brought to the board for consideration for will serve approval. And so now that we no longer have the water demand offset program in effect, we're not in the process of calculating water demand for a given project. And so we wanted to know what sort of threshold the board would like to use for staff approval versus board approval of will serves. And something that would be similar to using that 1 acre-foot of water demand as a cutoff would be, again, staff would approve accessory dwelling units, individual single family homes, and small commercial projects. And other examples of bigger projects that would be brought to the board for approval would be anything requiring an infrastructure agreement, all multifamily residential projects, and all new construction commercial projects like the hotel that you just considered. We're also thinking that the board may have interest in other projects that might require a variance from district policies, like they don't front a main, or if it's a commercial property that already has an existing meter, but it's undergoing some sort of redevelopment and the new use is likely to have a higher water demand, then we would bring those to the board. So that's what we're recommending is that kind of a approval process for projects in the future. But of course, if you have different ideas or want to see something different, then that's fine too. It's just trying to kind of land somewhere and move forward with water service approvals. So the motion tonight is to consider that, and you have the recommendations there from staff if you're interested in that.
Director Christensen, if I may add to what Shelley said. And Shelley, correct me if I'm right or if I'm wrong. This is what you're requesting the board to, or some version of this desire to kind of have it come in front of them for approval, yet they will be aware through our reports of everything that comes through us, whether it's brought to them or not. Is that correct?
Yes, if staff continues to approve those smaller projects like accessory dwelling units and single family homes, we do report on that in the management update, and we can continue to do that. So you can kind of keep track of the rate of development for those projects that you aren't approving.
Thank you.
And if you wanted to just see what that looks like in the management update, if you're not picturing that, we can go to the management update and take a look at that report.
Becca, can you jump to that? Maybe that might be a good idea.
Yeah, that's 4.6.
Yeah, 4.6.
So it'd be on the second page there, I believe. Yeah, so right there, that last bullet item. So you can see those are single family residences, and surprisingly, there's no accessory dwelling units. That's the most common type of project that we see and we approve at the staff level.
Thank you, Becca. Maybe jump back now. Thank you.
I think one thing too to consider is that gets the applicant through the process quicker for the smaller projects, because we don't need to time it with a board agenda. And sometimes if we, only meet once a month, then an applicant might miss that cutoff to get on a board agenda, and they might have to wait like another month to get a conditional will serve for a small project.
Becca, maybe take it to the motions, please.
No, we're at public comment, please. And no comment, no public comment here. Okay.
President,
So
there is a hand up.
there is?
Ms. Steinberg.
Okay, all right.
Ms. Steinbrenner, your mic's available.
Thank you. This is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I apologize for the confusion. I couldn't remember if I had pressed *9 yet or not to raise my hand. Thank you. I've been absent from your meetings for a couple of months for health reasons, storm reasons. So this is news to me that the water demand offsets are no longer in place. So if you would please, when I finish, provide me with a meeting date that happened so that I can review those documents. I do feel that the board should be kept apprised of the new water service demands, and that staff be held accountable for what those numbers are. To make them more clear and transparent to both the board and the public, I would like to see a separate report, standing report on that, and that it would not be buried in management update, that it would have a separate topic, because it is so important. I would like to also bring to your attention that this county is going to have to meet some extraordinarily high building numbers with the 6th cycle of the Regional Housing Number Allocation, RHNA. This county will have to build 4,634 units in addition to what has not been built in the last 8 years, and it has to be done. Or developers can take builder's remedy and just do it. So we are looking at extraordinary growth in our county, and a lot of it will be in the mid-county area. So I think keeping track of these water demand increases
Thank you, Ms.
will
Steinbrenner.
be
Your time is
critical.
up.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Back to board discussion here, actual discussion. Director Director Daniel, sorry.
I have a question. I see 1, 2, 3, and 4 there, and I think those are currently reported, right?
Those are the projects that we are proposing still come to you, the board, for approval.
Okay,
And staff, on the other hand, would just be continuing to approve the smaller projects like ADUs and individual homes and small commercial change in use.
so I think the only change is that we currently have individual homes that use more than an acre foot have to come to us, right?
On occasion, if they were on a parcel bigger than 1 acre, then their offset was typically a little bit over 1 acre foot. And so we would have to bring those to the board in the past, but
With this
they
new
weren't
program.
over by much. And so unless it's a big subdivision project where there's multiple homes going in, it would be cleaner if we just, if staff is going to still approve single family homes, that we would approve all single family homes unless they were part of a subdivision.
Well, then I don't see the problem with keeping what we have, where, if it has more than an acre foot, a single home more than an acre foot, it just comes to us for review. I seems fine to me.
Or an acre, you mean, of land.
Yeah,
Okay, but we're not routinely calculating water demand offsets anymore for projects, and we're not necessarily looking at the size of a parcel on a single family home. We can do that.
okay, so you could bring it to us if it's more than an acre of land then.
Sure.
Okay, all right. That's what I would propose then.
Okay.
Number 5.
So is that a motion?
Sure, I'll make that motion that we, approve this with the addition of any parcel that has more than an acre, even if it's a individual home.
I could second that.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. I personally wanted to keep track of, the actual acre footage that we are committing to on this, in this new project, this new project climate that we have, will serve climate. So you're calling for motion 1.
Well,
2.
it's not,
Number 2.
it's kind of a variant of 2, yes.
Number 2. Okay.
Specific version of 2.
Yeah. Okay. Let's have a roll call on that one.
Oh,
Director Daniels,
yes.
Vice President Jaffe,
Yes.
Director LaHue. Oh, he's muted. Director LaHue,
Yes.
Director Lather,
Yes.
and President Christensen.
Yes. Okay. So, wow. 7.3, the Pure Water Soquel update. Looking forward to this.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Melanie here, and I'm going to go ahead and do this presentation tonight to the board and to those who are also in attendance tonight. Accompanying me will be Leslie Strom, our Finance and Business Services Manager, and also Anoop Shah, who is our Program Manager with Brown and Caldwell. screen, you guys? Hello?
I can see it.
Okay, great.
See
Thank you.
it?
Okay. Well, again, thank you for the opportunity to provide a presentation on Pure Water Soquel. We really wanted to try and focus and talk about 4 activities that are ongoing currently. Obviously, there's a lot of construction activities. Leslie will be providing a funding update. I'll speak briefly on an outreach and education update. And then Anoop will come in and talk a little bit with me and go over our schedule, both past, present, and future. I know many of you are well versed on the benefits of Pure Water Soquel. Obviously, this is our groundwater replenishment project aimed to provide a seawater intrusion barrier and help us bring the Santa Cruz Mid-County groundwater basin back into sustainability to meet the state mandate of a reliable water source by 2040. Some great and benefits of the project also include that by taking treated secondary effluent that is currently being discharged out into the Monterey Bay Ocean, we're able to put that back into beneficial reuse and create a reliable and drought-proof water supply that's also resilient to climate change. And the project is timely, as Anoop will talk a little bit later in the presentation. We have been on a track to bring this project on timely due to the serious conditions of the groundwater basin. The project does have environmental benefits. We are looking to use clean energy and provide a high quality source of water through the advanced water purification treatment process. We also really looked at the economic benefits of the project with Dr. Brent Haddad up at UCSC, who did an economic impact analysis whereby the project was shown to demonstrate over $900 million in economic benefits to our region. And of course, again, as many of you know, the project is sized to be scaled up. We are currently sizing the project to meet the district's basin needs for basin replenishment, as well as our future demands. But it also can be scaled up to meet other needs that may be identified in the future, either for drought or basin resiliency. Project, again, our project spans 3 jurisdictions, including the city of Santa Cruz, county of Santa Cruz, and the city of Capitola. We have 2 treatment facilities that we'll go over in more detail in the construction photos. Activities are at the Santa Cruz wastewater treatment plant, and then at the Chanticleer property right there in Live Oak. We have the 8 miles of pipeline that are going through the streets of the city and the counties, as well as 3 seawater intrusion prevention wells that have been strategically located and placed to provide benefits to create that seawater intrusion barrier, as well as provide replenishment to our drinking water system. As you can see, and I've mentioned earlier, the project is sized for 1,500 acre feet per year, or about 1.3 million gallons per day. The project currently is in construction to meet that, with the caveat that the pipeline project is sized currently to be expanded to double capacity. That way we don't have to go back through the streets that we've been guests of for the last about 1.5 years of installing pipelines. That work will be done. So if we do need to expand the project, we can just work on the above ground infrastructure and site additional wells if needed in the future. Love to show and illustrate this artistic rendering that we have of the advanced water purification facility at the Chanticleer site. As you can see here, when the project will be complete, we'll have infrastructure associated on the greenfield site that we currently purchased several years ago that didn't have any infrastructure. And that's where the majority of our treatment process is, to what we kind of call make the magic happen of taking that treated secondary effluent and then purifying that water. We also are currently using this blue building here. That's currently our construction job site. And this area here will be our education and learning center. And then we'll retrofit this area to the maintenance and operations once the project is actually online. One thing to note here, what we also like to talk about here is this is what has been a really good property for our project. Not only are we able to demonstrate the transformation of water in our community and thinking of water differently, we're also partnering with the Regional Transportation Commission, who will be building this bike pedestrian bridge. That work is scheduled to start very soon in this year. And so there will be some active construction here as both projects are continuing to go online and be built. Projects do take a village. The district is a small but mighty agency, and we have relied upon several consultants and contractors to assist us with bringing this project from an idea, to technical feasibility, to permitting, design, construction, and then obviously to what we foresee in the near future of operations. And we do thank everybody's help and assistance on this project. I'd like to kind of do the exciting part here. I think the activities that go on, we actually provide a construction update on our website that is accessible to people every week to go online and see what kind of activities are underway. But like many people know, pictures tell 1,000 words. And so we have a couple of slides that our team has put together that I'm proud to share. For the conveyance project, we did kick this off in April of 2021. We are about 90% complete as of this month. Most of the pipeline that is underground in traditional just trench work within the city and county roadway have been complete. We are starting to do the pressure testing and startup and commissioning of those lines. In addition, we are putting and installing the pipe along the bridge. We will be doing some additional pipeline work in some Caltrans areas. And we also will be doing some work finally to actually soon to connect this project to the treatment facility site. We are anticipating that this project be done in spring or early summer of this year. Photos. Next is their treatment facility. As I mentioned, we have work down at the Santa Cruz Wastewater Treatment Plant, which is a site that takes and treats our treated wastewater here in Santa Cruz County. So that is a plant that, if any of you have toured it, is a pretty small footprint of a wastewater treatment plant. In addition to some of the construction activities that we're doing, it is a very tight constrained site down there, and to ensure that operations is ongoing, there is a lot of coordination and work with the City of Santa Cruz Public Works Department. This picture here is the Chanticleer site. Again, this site did not have anything on here, so all of this has been part of the evolution and transformation with Pure Water Soquel. We do have a time-lapse camera that has been capturing still shots through the progress, and that is available on our website. We actually just kind of downloaded some new photographs, and I believe we are on target to have a new video showing a longer evolution sometime in the next couple of weeks. In terms of the treatment facility though, groundbreaking in December of 2021. And so as of January of 2023, we've hit about 60% complete. We are on track to start the testing and commissioning activities of the purification and the tertiary beginning in June of 2024. Here's some construction activities. So these are pictures that are taken down at the Santa Cruz Wastewater Treatment Plant. And again, that's where our tertiary facility is being built. We do have pipelines. We do have some pipelines that are going both underground in trenches as well as inside their pipe gallery. And then this is some additional photos of the treatment project over at the Chanticleer site. Our next stop on this photo tour is the seawater intrusion prevention wells. So once the water is treated and purified at the Chanticleer site, that water will go about 4 miles through our 14-inch purified water pipelines out to those 3 seawater intrusion prevention wells. Our 3 wells at Cabrillo College, our Monterey Soquel site in Capitola, and then the Willowbrook site in Aptos have all been completed and drilled. We also have done 9 monitoring wells that were associated with those 3 wells. And we are now currently doing our well equipping. So that's basically, you know, the holes were drilled, and now we're building all the site civil improvements, including the backwash basins, the electrical connections, the site improvements and fencing. And we're looking to start up the well equipping portion of the project in February or March of 2024. Getting a little bit more of a closer view of these activities. Currently, a lot of the concrete work associated with doing the backwash tanks associated with the operations of the seawater intervention wells. I'd like to turn it over to Leslie, who will give a funding update. And Leslie, I'll go ahead and advance your slides. You just let me know when. Be on mute.
I'm sorry, I'm talking away. I'm going to go ahead and present the funding update this evening. I am going to go ahead and turn my camera off because it improves the audio quality a little bit for me. So I'm going to give you kind of an overview of the funding update. It's going to be a quick one, only about 3 slides, but I'm really excited to present these to you this evening. And so we'll go ahead and move into the first slide, which is an overview of the various state and federal funding that the Pure Water Soquel project has been awarded. We've been awarded 3 grants, roughly $65.3 million from the state's Prop 1 groundwater grant and another $30 million from the federal U.S. Bureau of Reclamation's Title 16 program. We have access to loans from the EPA's WIFIA program, the state's Seawater Intrusion Control program, and then another loan from the state's Prop 1 groundwater program. We've also secured some financing from CoBank in the amount of $75 million to provide interim cash flow while we're waiting for reimbursement from these various funding programs. And the CoBank loan will be fully paid back by the proceeds from these other programs within a year or so of project completion. We can move on to the next one, Melanie. So this is a fun slide for me. I'm going to provide you with 4 funding scenarios that kind of show the evolution of our project costs and the funding that we've secured since 2018. And if you remember, back in 2018 is when we did our finance plan and rate study that first introduced the cost projections for Pure Water Soquel. So before you get too invested in the numbers, I've saved the best scenario for last. So that's really going to demonstrate that this project is a miracle story. It's not often I get to generate this much excitement over numbers, but thanks to the board's commitment to securing this funding, and thanks to Melanie and Lydia for serving as fairy godmothers, the financial picture for this project is truly a modern day miracle, especially given the macroeconomic environment in which we've been operating over the last several years. So we started back in 2018 with a finance plan and corresponding rate study and a preliminary project cost of $90 million, which this $90 million was an estimate that we developed pretty early in the design process. We expected that we would fully finance the project at an average rate of 3% interest. And so the important cell to focus on in these scenarios is going to be the bottom cell, the bottom line, because this is going to be the actual cost to our ratepayers over the course of 30 years. So you can see here that with principal and interest, the total adjusted cost of the project was originally forecasted to be about $137.5 million. By 2022, which is the next one, project costs had increased due to the pandemic, unprecedented inflation, and global supply chain issues. The district was not alone in this challenge. Construction projects all over the country were facing similar issues. However, by this point, we had also secured the Prop 1 grants and had perfectly timed the WIFIA and SWIC loans to close at an amazing 1.3% interest. So although project costs had doubled, the overall adjusted cost to the ratepayer was only projected to be about 11% higher than the original scenario. So the next scenario yet, the 2023 one, demonstrates a slightly higher project cost because we included some extra construction contingency, which is prudent in this really uncertain economic environment. We've also included an additional loan through the Prop 1 program at a slightly higher rate of interest of 1.6. So that's where we get to that average weighted interest of 1.34 there, is because we're adding in that 1.6 rate loan from the Prop 1 program. So although project costs had almost more than doubled, the overall impact these changes over the 2022 forecast was only another 5%. So you can see that even though project costs are increasing at a higher rate, the impact to our ratepayer is not as significant. But wait, let's take a look at behind door number 4, because this is the one that we're really excited about. This final scenario includes the project costs with contingency, the 3 loans we've already discussed, as well as the addition of the $30 million grant that we've been awarded from the Title 16 program. So the result of this is our miracle story. This project is now expected to cost our customers $15.5 million less than we had originally projected in 2018. What other project in the world actually costs less to construct 5 years later when construction costs are facing all of the economic challenges this one has? None, because this one is a well-orchestrated miracle. So the last slide we're going to take a look at is going to give us an overview of these 4 scenarios that we just discussed. You can see the adjusted project costs net of any grants in blue and the projected interest costs in green. Our miracle project is highlighted in red because why not? It's amazing. And to the far right is a scenario showing you how much the project would cost if we had not secured grant funding and we had executed those loans today at 4.56% interest, which is the actual SOFR rate today. So the project total would have been $361.6 million. So you can see the tremendous savings we've achieved for our customers through grants and really well-timed loan execution. So now I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Melanie for an update on our outreach efforts.
Thank you, Leslie. Usually it's the finance part that Leslie's always like, oh gosh, you know, it's not that exciting. I thought that was extremely exciting. And now I'm following up with the outreach, which is always fun to share. You know, this project has been, you know, not just, you know, about technical or financial aspects, but also about the education and the relationship that we're able to create with our customers locally, as well as state and nationally. So, you know, we do a lot and focus a lot of our activities on education and outreach. Just since January, we've had over 10 presentations or meetings. We've done 4 tours. We've brought our educational trailer out to 2 events. We actually had scheduled a couple more, but with the rains, those were canceled. And again, you know, right now we know we're in everybody's backyard. We know that the construction activities are not fun. And so to still be in touch with our customers and our community, we do a lot of construction outreach activities. So we maintain the website twice a week. We try and do a weekly e-blast that goes out so that people can go to our construction update webpage. We send letters and postcards to those residents and businesses that are along the conveyance route as needed. And Mackenzie does even go out and talk to businesses as we're approaching that next segment of pipe, so that we're ahead and can answer questions. And they know that they can come to us if there are any questions, concerns that they have during the construction activities. This is just a picture of some of the tours that we've done. We've had representatives from the city of Santa Cruz, our own staff. We had a little delegation from Nevada who was looking at doing recycled water. They went and toured 4 different projects in California. We were one of their stops. We had our standing committee members, and upcoming we'll be having some more tours in May and June. This is one of the events where we brought our trailer out to the Seacliff Beach cleanup. It was also the weekend that was announced that they would not be restoring the pier to the cement ship. So that brought out a large number of people who came and spoke and talked to us. And a lot of people were already knowledgeable about the Pure Water Soquel project and the seawater intrusion condition. Ron and I were fortunate to go and speak at the Water Reuse Symposium, as well as Becca, who facilitated a panel where we talked and shared about the Pure Water Soquel film that by BBC Storyworks, and also talked about our experiences with the WIFIA loan on a panel of other borrowers from the EPA's WIFIA program. And of course, there still is a lot of excitement and interest on the Pure Water Soquel film that was produced by the BBC Storyworks for the International Water Association. And periodically, we get somebody to contact us to want to talk and learn more about the project. So we are so very extremely fortunate to have that be something that is being showcased around the world. And now I'd like to have Anoop come and talk about the schedule update with me.
Thank you, Melanie. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. If you can move to the next slide. Another really exciting story, both funding side of things and outreach and the progress. Kudos to district and the board and the staff that's so dedicated and really pushing this forward. I know my personal involvement on the program has been since 2018 onwards, but really this project started back in 2015, and you all, district staff and the board has been behind this project since 2015, starting with community water plan, feasibility study, and then EIR. You can see the milestones that have been attained and achieved, starting in feasibility completion in 2017, EIR certification in 2018, and then through the procurement of the design builders design. And we, I think earlier in the presentation, Melanie mentioned the groundbreaking in the late 2021. So on the right-hand side of the slide, we are in the early part of the 2023, and we are working towards achieving our goal of having the groundwater replenishment rechargeables being activated in 2024. But while we've been achieving all these milestones, another miracle aspect is what we have been dealing with. We are not immune to some of the global situations, pandemic, right here at the bottom. Right as we were getting into the procurement part, we got hit with the global pandemic, despite of the limitation on in-person collaboration, as well as availability of the design staff and the team and the design builders. Team persevered and worked through all those challenges. Add another one layer, if you can click one more. Right now, last year and even right now, we are dealing with unprecedented inflation in the market. So these are some of the macroeconomic items beyond our control that we are dealing with, and yet our teams, design builders, they're working through it and helping us achieve those milestones. And then more recently, as we speak, if you can click one more, the weather impacts, climate change impacts right in our neck of the woods. with the flooding and the rain and impact it has on the project schedule. So, this is sort of the look behind, but, let's take a deeper view into what's ahead. It's always fun to talk about where we are and what is to look forward. Conveyance and Swift Wells project, recharge wells project, as we see in the first line. Later this year, around early summer timeframe, we look to wrap up the conveyance project, and our groundwater recharge wells construction will wrap up soon after. You may have seen in Melanie's slide earlier, most of the underground construction is completed for our recharge wells. And right now the contractors are finishing up the well equipping phase for it to get them ready. It's not on the critical path. The critical path for our overall program is right now running through the treatment project. And our design builder right now is on track to finish majority of the construction by end of this calendar year, and early next year it would be commissioning, construction closeout, and some startup activities that will go through late spring, early summer timeframe. One of the important aspects as we start to look towards the end of the program or construction activities is the operations agreement. And one of the activities we are working on right now is to have that long-term third-party operations agreement in place, working with our OMAR partner, Jacob's team. And we are hoping to bring that agreement for board's consideration in early summer timeframe around August. Once we have that agreement in place, Jacobs will begin the preparation for the long-term operations, and they will engage sometime July, August of next year, start collaborating with our design builder on taking over and then transitioning into full-time operations in the next year. So lots of exciting stuff will happen into the summer, heading into the next year, looking towards that completion of the program. With that, Melanie, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Anoop. Yeah, and again, this takes so many people to get the project to where it has come. And I know we continue to do this to show gratitude, but thank you so much to the consultant teams and the contractors that are assisting us. But as we look just here at the district, the board's leadership, Ron's leadership, over the last couple of years, Taj and Leslie have helped so much, and we're about spreading that to the staff, as well as now with a lot of effort being with Nick as we're working towards the operational parts, with Tracy helping us orchestrate how will this project be as we become an agency in the future of both groundwater replenishment as well as a water purveyor. And I think the couple of slides that I just wanted to also discuss is also some of the work now that Shelley is working on, which is the regional water optimization study. The slides that we went through really have been from 2015 to today, and then all the way up to when we bring the project online. But we, like we've said before, we continue to be a small but mighty team, and we're looking at what does the future hold for us in terms of water sustainability. And so the regional water optimization study, which the board and the public have been giving some more recent updates, because this was a project that is being funded. It's a study under this Sigma grant that the Santa Cruz Mid-County Groundwater Agency received. It was part of the $7.6 million grant we received. 1.9 of it is going to go into this study that we will be conducting for about 18 months to 2 years to evaluate opportunities to expand the projects and activities that have been identified in the groundwater sustainability plan, to really look more holistically at basin sustainability and regional water supply reliability. We kicked off, this is a picture from our kickoff meeting in February. This is a joint study that is being conducted by the City of Santa Cruz and Soquel Creek Water District. And Shelley is overseeing and coordinating that effort that has many aspects of technical evaluation with hydraulic modeling and groundwater modeling and then also looking at environmental, social, technical, legal, political aspects of what can we do next. It's about kind of that next step. So we're excited. We do know that this is another big lift, and probably at about late 2024 or early 2025, we will have something to report back on that effort. Summary, again, thank you for the opportunity for us to come and speak about the Pure Water Soquel project. We are still underway and on track to have the project come online by the end of 2024. I love the phrase that Leslie mentioned earlier in terms of the being financially sound and it kind of being a miracle given kind of the financial climate that the world has been in over the last couple of years and how the project has evolved. And we have much appreciation for the funding that we've received. And again, you know, it's always looking forward and looking out into the horizon to see what do we need to do next for not just Pure Water Soquel, but for Soquel Creek Water District as an agency. And with that, thank you. And of course, staff is available for any questions you may have.
Excellent. We'll go public comment on this first. And we have one person, Ms. Steinbrenner.
Ms. Steinbrenner, your mic is available.
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for the overview of the project and where it stands and where it's going. What I did not hear is the projected operational cost that your ratepayers will have to endure. And I'm worried about that. I see that you've opened up a rate increase study committee, and it looks like rates are not going to be going down, as was promised when the 5-year rate increase program was set up. I'm still very worried that there is no final anti-degradation analysis that I have found anyway. Maybe you've got it, but I haven't found it. It's certainly not on your website. And I'm still very concerned about what this will do to the integrity of the Prisma aquifer. Like has been stated by Director Jaffe, I'm not convinced this project is going to work either. And so I'm very interested to see what the new round of modeling will show. I think that the water, recycled water, should be used for Cabrillo College athletic fields, the golf course. If you're going to inject anything, it should be down in the seascape area where your seawater intrusion is a real problem. So I'm not convinced this is going to fix really anything other than bring a lot of cost to the ratepayers, potentially contaminate our groundwater. And I see the pole that has gone up, the 60-foot pole. There's been no study about EMF rate interference with the county communication, emergency communications. So I don't want to blow your bubble, but I don't think this is going to work, and I'm very sorry for your ratepayers.
Thank you, Ms. Steinbrenner. Your time is up.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Steinbrenner. Okay, open it up for board discussion now. Director Daniels.
I think the key point of all this is the finances. I think we have an amazing person in charge of that and a great staff. So that's the wonderful thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Jaffe?
Yes, I had something I was going to say, but just want to make a correction. I think Ms. Steinbrenner overstated my skepticism on whether this is going to work. Anything this complex, there's always some surprises, but I would not be supporting unless I thought that it was going to work. perhaps not in the way we thought it was initially, but that it is going to work, that there'll be some kinks that will be worked out. But what I was gonna ask for, and the timing, I don't know what the correct timing for this is, but in a new slides, the final stage going with treatment, and talked about commissioning and I just at some point I'd like to get a presentation on just where we stand with the treatment. And I want right now that I'm a strong advocate for redundancy, and I know there is redundancy in the system. But I just want to find out what types of redundancies there are, and I support increasing redundancy if it makes sense. That's all I have to say. I'll accept, I should say, it's a fantastic job that the staff has done and the consultants, and very uplifting presentation. And I do agree with Dr. Daniels that it's absolutely amazing that a district this size is able to pull off the finances for a project that's this large.
Thank you very much. Director LaHue?
Yeah, I just really appreciate all of the work on staff's part, on our consultants' part. And also, these projects don't happen without collaboration with our partners too. So I think the way that our staff has maintained good relations and good communications with our other partners in the area, and the way the whole Mid-County Groundwater Agency has worked together, and that this is such an important part of our groundwater sustainability plan, and all that coming together with the drive from everybody to get this done for our community. Then the timing and the effort worked out so well with the finances. I think, if we hadn't pushed forward and just said, we have to find a solution, then the finances wouldn't have worked out. So anyway, just kudos, but let's keep going. I mean, my original goal was to have it operational by the end of 2022. I guess, I'll just have to hope we don't have too many more setbacks. So thank you for the update on the timeline too, Anoop.
Thank you. Director Lather?
Well, you guys know that I'm like the optimistic one. I thought everything was going to work out. I thought that we were going to get total funding. And I always thought that you guys were the little district that can. And you've proved me right. So I'm so proud of you. And thank you so much for all your hard work. It's just amazing that we've been able to do so much. I love the presentation.
Thank you. That's great. Okay, I can only just reiterate, and I'm really looking forward to hearing another update, which will include the treatment process, the treatment train, and how it's going to be, the plant will operate. I think it's not too premature to start thinking about that in the next several months, but yeah, fairy godmother awards for Melanie and Leslie. Who would have ever thought that? And when I saw that 361 million, I knew if it ever got to that, we would be cooked. We would not have been able to do this really important project that is so important to our whole aquifer and our district. So thank you so much. It's really great job.
Oh, really, I just have to say thank you to that, but really it was timing. I played a lot into just the right timing and the momentum of the project in terms of setting us on a course and just, you know, getting that stepwise where we got the project, we knew the guiding principles that were set for the staff, the timeline that Dr. LaHute said, and as we went forward and we just kind of looked to see what funding was out there to help our ratepayers, we just really hit some fortunate times. I think we said before, kind of once in a lifetime funding opportunities were there at each turn. So
well, there is such a thing as seizing the moment, even if that moment is the middle of the night, the weekend before a project proposal deadline. So really, we know what happened. So,
President Christensen, if I may say a few words, it's Ron. You know, there is the whole organization, from the board saying, you know, this is your mission, this is your direction. And then really the whole organization incrementally throwing itself at this project. You know, engineering has stepped up and really refocused their efforts during this. I know Melanie's extremely appreciative of that. You know, to Shelley stepping in and running the optimization study, to O&M really now starting to join in on the meetings, feet on the ground, to understand what implications operational, and of course, HR helping to envision what this is all going to look like, and Leslie being at the eye of the storm with the financing and getting the good ratings through Standard & Poor's and the funding. So my hat's off to everybody, you know, especially Melanie, of course, but wow, what a story. Thank you.
thank you. And I see that this was information only. So we may move on to the final item on the agenda, which is 7.4, rescheduling the anti-harassment training for 2023, including maybe finding out who actually needs it, needs to do it still.
I'm going to take over the screen share. Becca's having connectivity issues. 1 second while I get the packet.
Okay.
Tracy, are you there?
There it is.
I'm not sure. I'm seeing Tracy online here. So maybe I'll pinch in. How about that? Tracy, are you there? We don't hear you if you are online. You're muted. Okay. Well, President Christensen, would you like me to jump in?
Yeah.
Okay. And
yeah, I think so. It's largely a scheduling question and how we want to break it up. And
yeah, I mean, if you want to take, it sounds like, you know, I mean, I have to basically read it. It's been a while since I reviewed it, but this is about scheduling the 2-hour anti-harassment that our own HR director can do. If we want to schedule that, that'd be motion 1 at the one of the board meetings or a special board meeting. I don't think we have anything scheduled currently for the early April meeting. Just put that out there. We might have canceled that meeting.
We just did. Didn't we?
We just did. Yeah.
Yes, we did.
So if we wanted to bring it back, there's an opportunity. By motion, schedule number 2, 1 hour, break it up like you have done in the past. And then if those don't work or in conjunction, it could be an and, I think we could find some online training also. And then President Christensen, I think you also mentioned who does or doesn't have this search right now. That I'd have to leave with Tracy, although Director Lather might be the one that would have the training because of her work. So she might be able.
That's right. It was me. I don't have to take it. I did the online training last fall, and I've also done the ethics training recently.
And I can do it through my veterinary work, or I can do it through here. So online is best for me.
Yeah, it seemed to me I was the only one who was going to be there for the training the time when we scheduled before it was canceled, so that's why I was curious. So perhaps we should just continue to online, or how do you feel about it, Director Daniels?
Well, I was going to say that we're already thinking about another trip. I don't know when that's going to be or how long it's going to be. I mean, maybe 600 years long or something. I don't know. So if we made a schedule for a particular thing, I'm not sure I could be there. So something more flexible would probably work for me.
So what about the online training resources? Do we know anything about that?
Well, Tracy certainly does, and there's different venues out there. We may have it already in our program that we subscribe to. I think she's trying to get back in right now, but we can figure that out. If that's the board's desire, let us figure that out, and we'll make something available to the board members to take within, before the deadline.
That sounds good to me.
That might be the most flexible way to get it done, actually, too.
Okay. Well, great. Well, then if you want to make a motion, maybe around 3, that would be awesome.
Okay.
And President Christensen, just a reminder, I don't know if we have public comment on this item, but
Oh, we do have.
Thank
I
you.
checked and we don't have any commenters, but I will open it up again just in case.
okay, I don't see any raised hands at this time.
Okay. All right. Are there any other comments on this? No.
Did somebody already make a motion?
Then let's just take the motion number 3 to direct staff to coordinate online training resources and look into online training resources in particular for individual board members.
I'll second that, Director Jaffe.
Okay, roll call, Director Daniels,
Works for me.
Vice President Jaffe,
A good solution, yes.
Director LaHue,
Yes.
Director Lather, Director Lather,
Well, she's already had it. She might be out.
She can still vote.
I don't know that she's.
you know, I don't see her on the list right now. So
She's not,
Director
but-
Lather is absent. Director Christensen,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. Well, that leaves item 8, adjournment, but I have to say, I appreciate all the input that I heard today. Thank you. That was this is a big, thank you.
All right. Stay dry.
Too, and
Yeah,
hope the lights go back on for everybody too.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Nice.
everybody.